think it should be just something that we agree to.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go back to.
So, Nick, can you take a look at the meeting minutes and let me know if we've missed anything?
Yep, I will do so.
Yeah, just double check.
Yeah.
Since this is important, we don't want to screw it up.
Do we want to hold off on that before we start rolling into some new stuff?
I think the only suggestion I'd make here is make it, all you have to really do is just say who's present, and you can copy and paste that from the above. And only note here officially is, yeah, actually, since I'm an officer, yeah, just basically at the roll, you can do it under roll call and say even all board members and officers are present, or list our names out specifically.
In the next meeting, you mean?
In really any meeting, because right now this is
Okay.
the next meeting.
Okay.
So
And you don't have to do the minutes now, but when you do the minutes of this meeting, mention who's present, or say all board members and officers present.
Sure. Yeah. No, I meant like, are we good with the notes here from the previous meeting? Can we like?
Oh yeah,
those
no,
done?
yes, you can approve them. Yes, you can. If
Okay.
everybody has a chance to look at them and review them and they're comfortable with them, then yes.
Okay.
They're good to go. Let me just double check.
Yeah, I just made a few small
Yeah,
changes.
no, all the changes you made were good, including something that I missed. Yeah, no, that's all great.
Anyone else have concerns? Because this is going to live as like one of our formation documents.
Is it ROLL call or roll? Which?
oh, this is a different document that you're looking at here.
But Wink is correct. It's ROLL call.
Make fun of my bad spelling.
Yeah, Wink, I'm looking at the Queer Burners formation meeting document.
Yeah, that's what's on the screen is the notes, the agenda for the next meeting.
I like how you avoided Pacific Standard versus Pacific Daylight Savings.
They can figure it out by the date.
Yep.
if it's really important.
Okay.
Looks good.
Are we good on that? Matt?
Yep.
Okay. So I'd like to call this meeting to order, Queer Burners Board at 8:01 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. See, we don't need to do the roll call because we all know who's here. Let's go over the minutes so we can get the group's approval for those minutes. Or do you want to go ahead and approve those minutes? Roll right into that.
Consensus on those.
What's that?
I think we have consensus on the minutes.
All right. Does everybody have consensus?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So that the minutes for the January 6th, 7:49 p.m. meeting are approved.
Awesome.
So a couple things I'd like to just bring to the table and see where discussion takes us on these is, now that we have this official status, we can start doing some other things and we can start relaxing a little bit on, the setup stuff and start looking at some of the things for the overall benefit of the community that we're hopefully going to be able to do in our lifetime. One of them is a formation of a committee for equity, inclusion, and diversity headed by Nexus. Anybody have thoughts or want to have some discussion on that subject? Maybe like Nexus. Does this sound like something that you're wanting to take on right now?
Yeah, I mean, based on the previous meetings we've had where this has come up, I mean, I guess I could offer what I think is a recap and next steps. I think we were thinking about kind of debuting this opportunity at whatever the next town hall would be,
Yeah.
and kind of extend this as an invitation to be a committee made up of both board members but also non-board members. But I think the primary impetus behind this committee was making sure it was driven by our community and not necessarily by us, even though I certainly have an idea, and I'm sure each of us have an idea of how this could go. But I think modeling, nothing about us without us, and certainly as an opportunity to plug in members who hold identities that aren't represented currently on the board, I think is kind of one of the biggest pros out of a bunch of them. So yeah, I mean, I don't think that precludes us talking about how we might individually want to plug into it too. So I don't want us waiting to extend the invite to our community publicly to have a chilling effect on our own conversations about what we think it means, or even the work that we as the board need to do in order to support the work, right? So I think there are multiple layers and levels of this conversation and learning and working together. And I think being mindful of what is the work and what is the responsibility we have as a board to EID or EDI or DEI, however the order of the acronym we use. I'll certainly make sure that we, it's an ongoing and regular part of the conversation. Because the other thing I don't want to happen is I don't want us to feel like this committee is where the work happens and it becomes siloed and we kind of like just forget about it, right? I don't think we would, but I'm just like making it explicit.
Can I say that I think one of the things that I've learned a lot from you in your participation so far are like it's opened up my eyes just a little bit, even just in some of our conversations. It's I've learned a lot about, like, you use some very powerful words in some of the things you say. When you talk about monoliths and silos and token and stuff like that. And I think, depending on where some of us are coming from, it's a super easy danger to put somebody in a role that is symbolic without substance. And I think it's going to be important for us to be supportive and participate in this and learn from it. But also, because I've seen quite a few occasions in our community where this conversation is so important. So I just wondering, like, is it possible to consider maybe getting some kind of write-up about what this kind of a committee would mean and what the expectations are from people?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was on my to-do list, actually. But yeah, no, thank you for that. And thank you also, because I know this was also this was kind of in response to what would this work look like if there were like a board officer, right? And so I appreciate, without even really needing to like necessarily have an in-depth conversation or argument about it, part of the reason that I was like, actually, for me to feel comfortable doing this work, I think a committee that I help facilitate would make more sense rather than me holding a title and possibly tokenizing myself, right? So already we've begun working in a way that, at least like as a person who's holding intersectionally marginalized identities, feels like it's allowing me to show up in an authentic way. So it may not have felt like the work, but like the work's already been happening. So I just want to like say thank you, because it's definitely at least like setting up a framework that I feel like I can be supported by the rest of the board in a way that feels meaningful and authentic. And that's that.
Is the folks from Gender Blender on your radar with this at all, like Ariel or Ronnie? And there's a number of other people over there, but I know them better than anybody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're actually really strong advocates for this kind of a conversation, and they've run workshops at All of Us. Both years All of Us was out there, and would be a really good resource if you were to be looking for some people to initially tap into.
Awesome.
Just a suggestion.
I appreciate it.
Are there any thoughts or conversation concerns or notes anybody would like to pass on about formation? I would consider that, can we revisit this in a month and see what you want to do or what you've done? Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and I might just like put out there that also might include one-on-one conversations with each board member if you're up to it, because I'd actually like, I think group conversations are great, but I also like kind of with this topic and subject and lens, I think it'd be valuable for me to have a one-on-one conversation with each person to just talk candidly and confidentially about what your own thoughts and experience are with this kind of work and issues, because I think that could very much, and what your own interest in, how you'd like to plug into it too, right? So I think I'm just going to add that to my own to-do list, and don't feel like you have to, but I would like to do that over the next month as people have the time and availability.
That's really great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure. So quick note of a point of order. Do we need a vote on Nexus being the head of this committee?
Nick, can you give me some feedback on that?
I mean, right now, all the rules, all your bylaws state is that everybody has the opportunity, as long as everybody has the opportunity to be heard on the subject, however you decide to approve it is really up to you. And I think you've established a precedent for expressing consensus. If people raise their hands and give a thumbs up for it, and there's no objection and nobody wants to continue talking about it, it's a done deal.
Okay. All right. So everybody, we're good with a formation of a committee for equity, inclusion, and diversity, or in any order that it might appear, headed by Nexus.
2 thumbs up.
Right on. Yay. Awesome. The next item I would like to talk to is the formation for a committee for the All of Us event for 2021, captained by Starduster, not Stargazer. I mistyped on another document. The All of Us event 2021, if we're going to get it off the ground, kind of needs to start moving. And if it's okay with Kurt, I'd like to work with him on this because of my past involvement with the event. Is this something you're willing to take on right now, Kurt?
Absolutely. And I think the notes that you wrote up, the general, discussion points were, right on. Basically, we are in a holding pattern. We're definitely committed to having an event. As soon as we have some sort of indication that there's consensus that we could do it safely for, a reasonable population. And we don't necessarily know where exactly it's going to happen yet or who's going to be involved, but we're sort of poised to jump. And, we'll be exploring who can be involved and putting the feelers out and basically working towards making that happen the instant it's possible is the way I look at it. I want to jump on that the moment we think that it's, possible. So in the meantime, you and I can, talk about some kind of structures that we might need to talk about, who might be involved and that sort of thing. So I'm excited to move forward on that.
Really, I'm really excited too. We haven't had one since 2018 for a variety of reasons, one of them being a plague. And hopefully we'll start seeing that something can happen here in 2021. We
can also talk about the potential for another event, possibly in 2022, like a DC or, Eastern.
Yep. Yeah, we've hinted about that in previous conversations as a group. So I think we definitely something we can explore in another channel for now. We'll just focus on this one for this year. And then, you know, when we talk in the future, let's talk about what that might look like.
Yep.
Because I think Nexus would like to be involved with something like that too. You know, depending on where and how and it manifests. Is everybody good with the formation of a committee for All of Us event 2021? You know, if it can happen, headed by Starduster. Agree?
Hey.
Oh, I like Nexus has got a graphic with a thumb on there. That's good. Right on. And so can we meet us
Sarah,
or
Sarah, did you have any objection?
I
saw
used my
no.
thumb graphic too.
I saw the thumb.
oh.
Oh, that's too fancy for me.
Oh, there we go. All right. I love it. So everybody's good with that. So Stardust, can we schedule some time together, and anybody else that wants to be part of it, the discussion, we'll put it on the calendar and just have a conversation about it.
Sure. Do you want to agree on that now, or should we just talk and schedule it?
We'll just connect and let's bring it back to this committee in a month and
Okay.
see where we're at and do a report at that time.
Sounds good.
All right. The next subject I wanted to tap into a conversation about fundraising. I've been kind of pushing for that for a few weeks now, but have not been in a place where that's even been possible to really put out there. Wink and I have worked on documents to publish that would support that idea, but without having bank account and stuff like that, there's no point in pursuing it, because that means funds would have to commingle in somebody's personal account, and we're just avoiding that.
Not good. Yep.
So when we'll get together with Nick, when that time comes where we have some banking information and can start pushing that out there through like Indiegogo, GoFundMe, and I was thinking about Patreon too. I can share a conversation with people about that at some point when it's ready to go. But right now we're just in a holding pattern, pending on what Nick, a conversation with Nick about bank accounts, which is actually my next subject. Hey, Nick.
Yes, I was actually just about to ask, when looking for a bank, are there any particular, I guess, ethical or concerns, things that you'd like the banking institution you choose to have or not have be a part of? I know pretty much any bank is going to be problematic. That's just the nature of finance. But are there any strong opinions one way or the other about institutions to look at or avoid, bearing in mind that the traditional answer of a credit union generally doesn't offer business banking accounts?
I see Nick, Kurt has his hand up.
I had a business banking account at a credit union.
Which one? I mean, that is possible. And if you still have one, that might be an interesting option, but it's not a common thing.
I mean, I had one for my business with a business partner, and it was an account that was for our business. I don't know. I didn't know if there was a different type of account necessarily, so I don't really have the information on that, but it'd be something that I would like to explore. I would like to avoid a commercial bank if possible.
Which credit union was it, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, it was subsumed into a new credit union. So the one that I had was the one that I use now is called Self Help. Credit union, federal credit union. So I can give you the information if you want, but well, and then there's Redwood, I think, right? Is another popular one that's pretty large actually. So I mean, I can look into it, or if you have, if you want to look into it, I don't.
It looks like SF Fire Credit has business accounts as well.
Are we focused on a credit union, or we think that's better for our community, or?
I think so.
Generally, yes.
Okay.
But we probably, since we're spread out across the US and, you know, I mean, we're based in the Bay Area, but you know, that could change at some point. Would it make sense to use a bigger bank that has branches, you know, in the communities that we're in?
Generally, as long as the credit union's a part of the shared co-op
Mm,
banking network, you'll notice it by the little red triangle, and that says co-op in the middle of it. That's actually one of the easiest things to use, because pretty much any other credit union that's in that network, you can use those credit unions to process transactions with the home credit union network. So if you run an event in, say, Washington, D.C., and you have cash left over from it, you can take that cash and go deposit it at any shared branch co-op, and it will get deposited into the
Okay.
co-op of your choice. So that's that. Are they the most convenient to work with in terms of apps and different things like that? Generally, no. But you know, there's advantages and disadvantages to it. Just like, and of all the national banks, there's always going to be a blind spot here and there. You know, Chase is not in every state. Wells Fargo is not in every state. Bank of America is in every state, but you know.
Yeah, so I work for a bank,
Mhm.
a fintech startup. Unfortunately, we don't offer business accounts yet, and don't plan to do so in the near future. So, I mean, one thing is I could ask around at work and see what people like suggest, because we are like, our bank is all about having a positive social impact. So they might have some feedback about what a good commercial bank might be. Because I've had very mixed experience with Chase, Bank of America. Can't speak to Wells Fargo, but yeah.
I think
I've had bad experiences with the banks that you mentioned and Wells Fargo. So personally, Kurt.
Yeah, when I did have a commercial account, I went with Umpqua Bank, which you know, did seem to have a good social responsibility profile. So just as an option, just toss that out there.
Yeah,
I think
sorry, go ahead, Nexus.
I was just going to say, related to that and the points that are being made, looking into banks that are like minority or even specifically Black owned would be
Yes.
definitely a plus as well. I know One United is one that just popped up, so something to consider. Thanks.
I was actually going to ask about that at work, because I know, yeah, I know of a couple, but I don't think they offer commercial accounts. So I was going to ask some of our executives who have worked for some of the banks aforementionedly named. What is a better bank that is going to support our community?
And so, Nick, where would our timeline be on having an account that can be used?
As long as there's alignment and consensus on the chosen institution, it really depends on the institution as to whether or not, if they offer, sometimes institutions do more know your customer stuff than other ones. And some of them do them through more arcane processes than the just upload your driver's license or whatnot. And when we're talking about nonprofits, some of them are going to want more paperwork than others. If I can do a little bit of exploring. Also, if say, you know, if Kurt has an existing relationship with a credit union that works, sometimes Kurt could just make one phone call and say, hey, I want to start an account for this nonprofit. Boom, done. It depends. It really depends on the institution once the institution is selected. And I think if we were to select an institution, I would like there to be sort of generalized consensus from the board on it, but that's a topic for discussion. I think I could send out an email to everybody saying, hey, I think this one, I like this one, it works. Any problems? And then go from there.
Yeah. Okay, so do you think that within do you think we can get that maybe resolved within the next week or two, or is that realistic?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think Kurt had her hand up.
I was just going to ask if we do this research, and would we want to come back to the next board meeting and say this is what we recommend, basically based on the information that we
Can we
find, or do we want to do it quicker than that?
can we possibly set up like not necessarily a committee for this, but a sub conversation and then report back because the next meeting that I'm proposing is in a month.
For example, I would be willing to designate, to authorize you, through conversation as needed to make that decision. As long as you incorporate, the considerations that we're bringing up now, I think it's fine to make that decision outside of the official meetings, since you're the person
who's you? Is it me or Nick?
Well, whoever's doing it.
Oh,
I mean, technically, I could just go ahead and make the decision since you authorized me to do it by consensus. But what I was proposing is, looking at a couple of options, just basically sending out an email saying, hey, I think, after looking at all the various options, I like this option for these reasons. I'm going to go ahead and proceed in the next 72 hours unless somebody objects. And if somebody objects, we'll just kick it to the next meeting.
okay, that's agreeable. I agree to that.
Yep.
Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Because we have a chance to chime in, I think that's a great way to go forward.
Sarah's the thumbs up. Okay.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right.
You guys were glitching out on me, so I turned off my video and it helped.
It's okay, cool. Thank you. But your graphics still work, so that's awesome. And so is it my understanding that the signers for this are going to be the members of the officers on the board?
Yeah, so that would be, except for me, so it's basically right now it'd be you and Matt.
Okay. Go on, Matt.
Is there anyone else who wants to be a signer? Okay. Yeah, I think having at least 2 is good.
Okay. And then of course whoever becomes treasurer will become a signer.
Yes. And then presumably whoever becomes treasurer might also join the board, but that's.
Well, I mean, here's one more question that I'm just asking because of some past experience that I've run into. Is it requiring 1 signature or is it 2 signatures? Is there an issue with that?
You can set it up however you like. Generally, since most payments aren't issued by check anymore, they're issued through
Debit or credit?
well, debit or credit, or through ACH.
Okay.
Generally, or through reimbursement, something like that. And those can be set up in a system because I think eventually when you get your determination letter, you're going to go with QuickBooks, or I mean that would just be my recommendation. That's another thing for conversation, but generally you don't want a checkbook. You want some kind of electronic record and the ability to claw back that payment if for whatever reason it was erroneously made.
Well, you just brought something up that I forgot to ask about was QuickBooks. I think the recommendation was that we use QuickBooks.
That's correct, because you get it basically for free. It's $25 a year through TechSoup, and it's a comprehensive suite to be able to manage different things like that and provide reports.
Okay. So are you gonna need cash in order to open the account and cash in order to get QuickBooks? Or just get cash for the account and then?
I think that there's no reason to light up QuickBooks until you have a high transaction volume. And I think by the time you hit that high transaction volume will also be the time you get your determination letter. And then I can easily roll. I mean, I don't think I will need cash to open the account, but I will need somebody to fund it at some point. And I think once you have donations or something like that, that's how it would get funded. But you could do it through bill pay through your bank or whatever the bank has for accepting that.
Okay, cool. Okay, just hit me up if there's questions or needs, and I will definitely do what it takes to make it happen. Sound good? So we're good right now with what Nick was saying, 72 hours. If you find something, if we are not comfortable with it, then we'll revisit that. Agreed? Did we already vote on that? I don't know if we voted on that. All right. So I'm going to just start trying to wrap this up. I just want to kind of go over one of the things we already discussed, which was about recruitment. At one point in the past, we know that Nick is in a temporary position and we want to be actively seeking people that want to be treasurer or clerk or however this works for the well-being of the organization. We sent out a letter to the nominees that were offered by the community and just to start laying the groundwork. And then I've got a second letter that I'm starting to work on so we can start communicating with people directly for some realistic responses. Of the responses that I've got and just looking over the forms, there's a handful of people that seem genuinely interested in pursuing something. And I think the challenge is just getting people to show up. And that's how we're going to get people involved. But I'm going to do some outreach, but it's also important that anything that goes out from us to the community should have a second pair of eyes on it. It should be Wink or, if Matt can help and support Wink or whatever, as long as we're staying within the guidelines of what our communications need to look like. We do have a list of those things in our, I think it's our role and responsibilities or one of our documents there. But I'll share that for everybody to see it, just to make sure we're on the same page. But nothing goes out representing the organization without eyes and approval from Wink.
So on A there, like what is the specific next step or action item for recruitment? I'm not clear on that.
Wait a minute, where are we at? The recruitment?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I guess what are the next steps? I'm just want to make sure I capture those in the meeting minutes.
No, it's perfectly good. Sorry, I was a little vague on that. So I have a letter that went out on the 4th. I'm going to work on another letter to get that out soon so I can get that out there.
Okay.
It's just a matter of coordinating. I don't want to overwhelm Wink with a whole bunch of documents to read. Go ahead, Kurt.
That was a letter to the people who had already communicated their interest. Is that right? That what you're talking
That is
about?
correct.
Okay, so it's not a general appeal or anything like that.
No, this was the nominations have opened and closed.
Okay.
They're available in the structure of our files at the very top level if you want to see.
Yeah. Do you have a sense that someone from that group will emerge as a viable candidate, or do you think we might want to still seek other people to find money?
I think we should always be open to people who want to involve themselves, whether they fill that out or not. I think one of the things that is clear, and it's hard for some people that really don't get involved in this community as much as some people, but I mean, it is all about showing up and, showing that you want to be involved, and that every one of you have done that. You know what I mean? We get a lot of people that are just noise and are never actually putting the wheels to the pavement. So I think we're just gonna, I think the best thing for us to do is to create a path for people to step on and, create their own motion and their own engagement. But reaching out to people, I think, is important too. All right. So I'd like to schedule our next official meeting for the first Wednesday in February. Oh, go ahead, Wink.
Just one question for Nick. Are there any limitations? I know on other boards I've been on, like, we couldn't meet like socially, if 2, or I think it was 3 of us, this was an HOA board, like we couldn't meet without, uh, being official. So two of us could get together, but three of us who were on the board, if we got together, then, okay, so that doesn't apply.
I
Okay,
mean, your bylaws have no such restrictions. And those are not common. HOAs are much more contentious than I think things like this are. And a lot of them have weird rules for weird reasons, but there's no such legal or bylaw restriction like that
Okay,
in this case.
okay. Thank you for the good question. That's great. Awesome. So if you guys are okay, I'd like to go ahead and close this meeting. But
Hold on,
yes, sir.
sorry. That's why I'm the clerk, to be the annoying one,
It's okay.
who interrupts. So when are we meeting? Do we want to set a date and time or just say it's,
Sure. Let me get my calendar here.
that would be February 3rd? Do we want to set a time now or just say TBD?
I think this is pretty much the standard time, right? 7:30 on February 3rd. Oh, look, it's already scheduled.
7:30 Pacific. Can we get a thumbs up on that? Because I'm concerned about the East Coast folks. Like, sorry, I can't see Sarah.
It's like a medium thumb for me. I'll make it work because it works for most people.
Okay.
You
Sarah.
prefer to be earlier?
Is it too late for you? Is that what the issue is, or?
Yeah, it's 11:30 right now, and I've got work tomorrow.
No. Good point.
So suggestion, we could also do Mondays, right?
Yeah, can Mondays work?
Like we could do earlier on Monday.
What about
Potentially.
Mondays, guys?
I'm open. So is it like the work schedules here that is preventing us from meeting at 6:30, for example? Is that right?
Well, I mean, you can see my calendar here. I mean, my calendar, I work until 6:30.
Okay.
So that it's just kind of it's hard for me.
Yeah,
Um,
I understand.
How about 6 p.m. on Monday Pacific? That would be 9 p.m. Eastern.
I can do that. I just want to see thumbs for anyone else. Okay.
Cool.
I can't
Again,
see
Nick,
Nick, and
or-
I can't see. Was Nick a thumbs up? Okay. Okay. Thank you, guys. So we'll change it to February 1st at 6 p.m.
Sounds good.
So you're going to see some weird things in email, just real quick, that I'm canceling some of this garbage that's sitting on the thing, and I'll get this scheduled. And then for the subcommittees, I think everybody's got access to the calendar. If not, I'll just double check it. Just add it to your calendars so we can stay on the same page. All right. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Are we finishing the call? Because if so, we should call it.
Yeah, I was just
Time
about to
stamp.
say I'd like to go ahead and close the meeting at 8:37 p.m. We're all agreed, right? Yep.
Cool.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome.